Welcome back to the True Detectives podcast. You guys have sent in some seriously wild cases this week.
Yeah.
We're going to kind of zero in on two that really stuck out just for their pure strangeness. We're not talking your usual, forensics and that sort of thing.
Right.
We're getting into one detective who's maybe getting tips from beyond the grave and another who's stuck in a time loop just trying to solve a murder to break free.
Yeah, it's definitely the kind of investigations that make you wonder, like, what is even possible? When you start talking about evidence that involves ghosts talking to you or the same Tuesday happening over and over again.
Yeah.
That's we're definitely outside the realm of procedure here.
Definitely outside the realm of procedure, yeah. Okay, so let's start with this first one that you flagged. It involves this detective, Ava Collins, and the heart of it is this ability. She has this unsettling ability to hear the whispers of the dead, but specifically it's victims of unsolved crimes, the ones that haven't found peace yet. And it's not like a superpower, really. It's described more as a burden, this constant awareness of these spectral voices. What hit you about this right off the bat?
Well, I think it's that psychological aspect, right? Just imagine constantly being bombarded by these voices, these accusations, these pleas. It's not just about solving a crime at that point. It's about existing in this reality where most people don't even know this is happening.
Right.
And you're having to process that input.
Yeah, how do you even make sense of that? And the case she gets pulled into initially is this 10-year-old cold case. It's a young girl who disappeared, completely no trace. And, any physical evidence is long gone, but Ava is constantly confronted by the ghost of this girl. But what's interesting is it doesn't come across as a fearful presence. It's more driven by this injustice. Do you think that's a key detail here? Why would the source material highlight that?
I think so, because it suggests there's a purpose to this haunting, right? It's not just some random echo of a past trauma. It makes you think there's this active desire for resolution.
Yeah.
It wants to communicate something.
Right.
Which I think raises the question of whether that sense of injustice is accurate reflection of what happened or if that's just the ghost's interpretation of what happened.
Interesting. And, we see this really human element, too, with the girl's mother. Because after all this time, she's still clinging to that hope that Ava can somehow communicate with her daughter and get some closure. Which puts Ava in such a strange position, doesn't it?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it's like...
She's almost like a supernatural last resort.
Right, like when you've tried everything else and nothing's working. Maybe this is the only option left. But it's also, it makes you wonder, is it ethical? Like, should she be giving this woman hope when the information is coming from a ghost?
Yeah, and the first clue comes directly from the ghost. Just this barely audible whisper, pointing to the gardener, he said. It's not much to go on. Obviously, it's fragmented, it's incomplete. But it's a starting point, even if it's a weird one. Do these whispers typically manifest in this way in the source material? Is it always so choppy?
Well, I think the fragmented nature kind of makes sense if you're trying to communicate across whatever that divide is,
Right.
It's not going to be a clear message. It's just going to be glimpses, and you have to interpret that.
Right.
It could also be that the ghost's memories are fractured, or maybe there are just limits to how much they can interact with the living world.
Yeah, okay, so this whisper leads Ava and her partner, Ben, who is very much the skeptic here, to the house where the girl lived. It's an office building now, but that original garden is still there.
And Ben, understandably, is pretty doubtful about all these ghost hunches. Is that skeptical perspective important to a story like this?
I think it's crucial because it keeps the narrative grounded.
Okay.
It gives you a point of reference, as a listener, if you're also kind of questioning what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it creates this tension.
Okay.
Because it forces both the characters and the audience to think, okay, well, what's another explanation for this? Even if the evidence is pointing to something extraordinary.
Right. Even when it seems like the answer is right there. And what they find in the garden isn't the girl. It's this old dog collar. And it's described as being in really good shape, almost like it hasn't aged a day. It's got the name Rusty engraved on it. And it's such a small detail, but it throws the whole investigation in a new direction. Why would the story introduce something seemingly so random?
It's a good way to move the plot along. You think they're going to find something directly related to the girl?
But instead, they find this object that makes them take a detour.
Okay.
And follow a different path. But it shows how even the smallest things can be important, even when you're dealing with something as unusual as this case.
Right. So they follow the name Rusty and track down the gardener. He's an old guy now living in a trailer park.
Yeah.
And his reaction isn't what you expect. He's terrified. It's like he's being haunted by something himself.
Yeah.
How does that change how you see the gardener's role in all this?
Well, it means he's definitely connected to what happened,
Yeah.
but not necessarily as the one who did it. It's more like he's traumatized by the events, like he's haunted by them, which is different from someone who's feeling guilty because they did something bad.
Interesting. And the things he says are just unsettling. Like when he says, "It wasn't me, it found me after I buried." That it found me part is chilling, isn't it? What do you think he buried?
Well, I think the obvious answer would be the girl.
Yeah.
But the way he says it, so vague and scared. It could be something else, maybe something connected to the girl.
Right.
Or maybe he buried something completely different, and that's what triggered all this.
Yeah. And then they find this scrapbook in his trailer. It's full of obituaries of children, and he's circled dates on them, including the missing girls. And that changes everything about how we see the gardener, right?
Oh, absolutely.
He's not a suspect anymore.
He's not the one who did it.
Right. He's like...
But it shows that he's obsessed with these tragedies.
Yeah.
Maybe in an unhealthy way. But it means he wasn't the one who took the girl. And it makes you wonder, how did he get all these obituaries? What's his connection to these kids?
Yeah, there's so many questions there. And around this time, we learn that Ava's ability isn't just about hearing the dead. It's also about sensing a darkness in the living, which means the killer might not have a typical motive, right?
Yeah, it adds this whole other layer to the investigation.
Right.
It means she's not just looking for clues and witnesses. She's using her intuition, maybe even psychic abilities to understand the people involved and how capable they are of evil.
Yeah, and she hears a name whispered amongst these obituaries, a boy in a Little League uniform who turns out to be Rusty's owner.
Yeah.
And the timeline matches up in a creepy way. The boy dies.
Yeah.
The girl disappears. The gardener loses his job. How did those pieces start to fit together?
Well, I think it all goes back to the boy's death.
Okay.
That seems to be the turning point. And because the gardener knew the boy through Rusty and then lost his job because of it,
right.
He was right there when it all happened. Maybe he saw something.
And maybe he was more than just grieving for the boy.
Right.
Maybe he was being haunted or threatened by something connected to the boy's death. It's like he became a target, too.
Yeah, his fear makes a lot more sense if he's not just feeling guilty, but actually being tormented by something, whether it's a person or something else. It's not just a he-unit anymore.
Yeah.
It's something way more complicated.
And then the investigation takes them to the boy's house, this huge mansion, perfect suburban life.
Yeah.
But Ava senses this intense coldness there, this spectral unease. That contrast is always so effective in these kinds of stories, right? Like how evil can hide in plain sight.
Totally. It reminds you that darkness can lurk beneath the surface, And Ava can see it because she's sensitive to it, but other people might miss it completely.
Inside, they meet the boy's mother. She's putting on a brave face, all smiles, but it's forced. She's definitely hiding something. And in the boy's room, which is completely untouched, the spectral activity goes through the roof. Yeah. The whispers become screams. What do you think is going on in that room?
Well, I think that untouched room shows that the grief hasn't been dealt with in a healthy way. It's like it's become stagnant. And all that activity suggests that the boy's presence is really strong there, or whatever energy is left of him. Maybe it's the center of the haunting, connected to all the emotions and the events surrounding his death.
And then comes the real twist. The boy's ghost isn't just hanging around. He's demanding things. He's possessive. And the mother is trying to appease him. But her gifts are out of love. They're victims that she's offering up to this angry spirit. That's dark.
It's a really disturbing twist because the ghost isn't looking for peace.
Right.
He's manipulating people to cause harm. And what the mother's doing is obviously horrible, but she's doing it because she's trying to satisfy her son, even though he's dead. It's
so twisted. And just as the gardener finally cracks and confesses to being a part of this awful plan, Ben and the police show up, finally some confirmation, but the real horror is in the mother's reaction and what she says about her son not being alone.
Right, because the gardener's confession gives the police what they need, but what the mother says suggests there's something bigger going on, something even more disturbing, like the boy's ghost is still in control and the violence isn't over.
And the confrontation that follows is intense. Ava uses the ghostly whispers to go after the mother. It's like a battle fueled by spectral justice. She's almost a mediator, isn't she, between the living and the dead?
Exactly. She's not just a detective anymore. She's a
Oh.
conduit for the victims. She's using their energy to bring the perpetrator to justice.
And after the arrest, even Ben, who's been so skeptical all along, admits that maybe the ghosts had something to do with it. He's seen something that's shaken his beliefs. That's got to be a huge moment.
Oh, it's a turning point for sure, because it validates what Ava's been saying all along.
Right.
It means that the evidence, even though it's so strange, was enough to convince him.
But it's not a happy ending. The boy's ghost is still there. His anger is gone. But now he's confused. It's like, even though justice has been served in the real world, the wounds of the past are still there.
Right. It adds another layer of tragedy to the whole thing. Because it means that just because there's justice in the human world doesn't mean there's peace in the spirit world.
Right. And what we learned from this whole investigation is that Ava isn't some supernatural hero. She's more like a translator in this endless fight against darkness.
Yeah.
And the dead can offer clues but not comfort. And the evil that people do, it casts a long shadow reaching even into the afterlife. That's a pretty bleak outlook.
It is. It doesn't make it seem like her abilities are a good thing.
Right.
It's more like a burden, a constant struggle.
Okay, so let's completely switch gears here and dive into the second case you wanted to talk about. This one's called Reset, and it's about this detective Sam Carter. He's trapped in a time loop, reliving the same Tuesday for 4 months. And every day there's this murder that seems totally random at first. His goal, obviously, is to solve it and break the loop. What were your first thoughts on this?
Well, I think anytime you have a time loop, it's automatically a great setup for a detective story.
Right.
Because you can be so meticulous, you can try things over and over again until you get it right.
Yeah.
But being stuck in the same day for that long would be awful.
Yeah, the source material really emphasizes how monotonous it all is for Carter. It's the same cold coffee, the same long shower, the same victim. This old man who doesn't seem to be connected to anything important. It's like the repetition is slowly destroying his mind.
Yeah, it's like a form of torture.
Yeah.
Because you're not making any progress. Time has stopped moving forward for you.
Right, and his partner Jen is such a contrast to him. She's always optimistic, which must drive him crazy after experiencing the same Tuesday hundreds of times.
Right.
It's like the classic cynical veteran paired with the rookie,
right,
but amplified by this crazy situation. How does that affect their investigation?
Well, I think Jen's optimism is important because it gives Carter something to push against.
Okay.
She's experiencing a normal Tuesday, She has no idea what he's going through, so it makes his situation even more lonely.
Yeah.
And her fresh perspective might actually help because she notices things that he stopped seeing because of the repetition.
Right. And the loop itself is described as being almost cruel because anything Carter does to try and change things big or small, it always resets at midnight. He's totally powerless.
Yeah, it's like there's this invisible wall that he can't get past.
Yeah.
And it forces him to deal with the murder if he wants to escape. And it makes you wonder what caused the loop, you know?
Right.
Is it the murder itself? Or is it just some random time warp?
Yeah. And in one of these endless Tuesdays, Carter decides to follow this feeling he has about the victim's neighbor. A meek guy who he's probably ignored countless times before. But after so much repetition, even the smallest detail can become important, can't it?
Oh, absolutely. The repetition becomes a tool. He doesn't have to waste time processing the same information every day.
Right.
So he can focus on the little things, the tiny inconsistencies that he might have missed in a normal timeline.
Right. And then something really unexpected happens. At 9:24 p.m., there's a gas leak and an explosion on the neighbor's street. This is a huge change from the usual routine, and Carter starts to worry that maybe the world is falling apart because he can't solve the murder. That's a lot of pressure.
It definitely raises the stakes because now it's not just about him being trapped.
Right.
It's like the whole world is in danger because of his failure.
Right. And midnight comes, as always, the reset happens. But this time, Carter goes straight to the neighbor's building, which is now being evacuated. And amidst all the chaos, he sees the neighbor packing a suitcase. Why is that such a big deal?
Because after experiencing the same day hundreds of times, anything out of the ordinary would stand out.
Right. And packing a suitcase means he's planning to leave.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's always just been there in the background before.
Exactly. It's like he's got something to hide.
Right. So before the next reset, Carter takes a chance and breaks into the neighbor's apartment. And what does he find? A crime scene that's been hastily cleaned up. Hidden blood stains the murder weapon, and a plane ticket with the victim's name on it, but a different alias. It's the break in the case he's been waiting for, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's like all the pieces finally start to fit together,
Wow.
and it proves that the neighbor was involved
Right.
and that the murder was planned. And the plane ticket means there was a connection between the two of them.
Yeah, well, it wasn't random at all. And the neighbor isn't meek. He's an assassin. The explosion wasn't an accident. It was part of his escape plan. And the victim was his handler. It's like the whole story flips on its head.
Exactly. The time loop forced Carter to see past the surface, you know?
Right.
The murder wasn't random. It was part of something much bigger, a story of betrayal and secrets.
Yeah. And the Meek Act was all fake. So there's another reset. But this time, Carter's interrogation of the neighbor is a race against time. He manages to get a confession just before midnight, confirming that the neighbor is an international hitman. That must be the most stressful interrogation ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. You know, time is running out.
Yeah, he has to use everything he's learned about the day and the neighbor
Right.
to get him to confess before the loop resets, and he loses everything.
So Carter knows the killer's plan now, and in the next loop, he races to the airport to stop him from escaping. It's a real race against time, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's the climax of the whole story.
Yeah.
He's not just stuck in the loop anymore. He's
yeah.
using his knowledge to try and change things,
Right.
to stop something bad from happening outside the loop.
And he gets there just in time at 9 on her 7 p.m. He catches the killer at the gate. The arrest happens so fast. And then the loop breaks. Everything goes quiet, no alarm, no reset. Jen tells him it's Wednesday. Can you imagine what that must feel
Like waking up from a nightmare. The loop is finally over, and everything's back to normal.
Right.
Except for him.
Yeah, and the aftermath is this mix of exhaustion and relief. The world kept going. Without him, nobody has any idea what he went through.
Yeah, it shows how alone he is.
Yeah.
He's had this incredible experience,
Right.
but no one can understand it.
But it's changed him. Solving murders is his job. But now it feels like a burden. Every new case might be another time loop waiting to happen. It's got to mess with your head.
Oh, yeah, but being trapped like that would definitely leave scars.
Yeah.
He's going to be thinking about it every time he starts a new investigation.
There's this small moment of normalcy, though, when Jen offers him coffee. Just a simple thing, but it must mean a lot after everything.
Yeah, sometimes it's the little things, you know.
Right.
Just a reminder that you're back in the real world.
And the last thought we're left with is that even though Carter escaped the loop, he's still fighting the unknown. Every new day brings new challenges. It's like a reminder that anything is possible.
Exactly. The ending shows that being a detective means you never know what's going to happen,
Right.
even after escaping a time loop. There's
Yeah.
always something else out there.
2 wild investigations this week, wouldn't you say? One with ghosts and whispers, and the other trapped in time. Makes you think about all the unseen things in the world. You know, the mysteries we don't even know about. Do you think echoes of the past can really guide us? And what would it be like to be stuck reliving the same moment over and over again?
Absolutely. It's like these cases are making us question reality, you know?
Yeah.
Time consciousness. It's fascinating.
It is. So what really resonated with you from these investigations? What questions are still bugging you? You know, we always encourage you guys to dig deeper into this stuff. The idea of talking to ghosts, the crazy possibilities of time travel. And let us know what you think. Rate and follow the True Detectives podcast for more unbelievable stories. Until next time, keep those investigative instincts sharp.